been kicked out of my near every bar around. I've been locked up for driving 120 through town. I've been shot at and cut with a knife, messing around with another man's wife. But other than that, we ain't nothing, just good old boys. Threw my boss out the window and got fired from my last job. Hot wired a city truck and turned it over in the mayor's yard. Beat my brother-in-law half to death. Lost $20 on his football bet. But other than that, we ain't nothing, just good old boys. Good old boys, we're all the same. Ain't no way we'll ever change. Ain't no harm by the things we do, or the trouble that we get into. Other than a wild hair once.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome.
What's so good about it?
It's Caldo Wednesday.
There you have it.
What more do you need? Get
Other
to
than
Veracruz
that.
today. Get your Caldo. Yum, yum. Get you some. I know Bobby Leister will be
Out
there.
of my yard, yum yum.
Yep. Ricky
Get out of
King,
my
Wendy
yard.
Hughes Garcia, Rena Scherer in this morning. First three on the podium. Thank
Judge
you for
Posey.
checking in this morning. Good morning, everybody. Greg Garcia, Judge Posey, Mark
The
Kurtz.
nearly omnipresent Judge Posey. Omniscient, no, not even he claims
No.
such, but
We just
omnipresent, constantly in the shadows. If you give the commander a microphone, he had some background vocals there. Folks, the Wade and Carter weather is brought to you by the great folks at AT Dental Feed. Had you taken our advice, had you gotten the product down on your lawn today, trust me, it would be watered in. It's 74 degrees in Victoria, heading to a high today of 83, and it is raining.
yes.
And the chart here says it will rain all day long. So
All day long.
wind could pick up in a little while. This is just a good day to stay in the office, get some work done.
Carter Castaneda checking in. His
Hey,
dad
Carter.
Steven also along for the ride.
Yeah.
We know Carter drives that listening bus.
Absolutely.
Scott Tomko, good morning. Lisa
Carter's
Poole.
like checking with my friends.
Yep. Mike Patton, Linda Christ, Marvin Mickish, Paul Ebner, Karen Murray, Sarah Elkins, Ryan Hopping. Good morning. Probably not building any fence today, Ryan.
Yeah, have you seen Lisa Poole there yet?
I did.
I was going to say, because Lisa's probably, in all fairness, she's probably out in front of Palace Bingo as we speak, securing her spot for Wade and Carter night at Palace Bingo tomorrow night. And it's going to always be fun.
Always fun.
It's always fun. But it's super fun when the bingo, when he calls down Junior Samples for acting irresponsibly.
And maybe Stephanie Conti will show up.
Stephanie Conti will be there.
Jared
Heather Kraft
McCrudden, good
Stewart
morning.
will be
Yep.
there.
Amanda
Zed
King.
will be there.
Amanda Bloschke.
Amanda Bloch says, can't hear you on 95.9. I don't know. I'm sure. I'm sure we're there
We're good.
now. We're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I've decided we're there.
we can't fix that.
We
That's the
can't
problem.
fix that.
Yeah, Monty Howard, good morning. Will Vincent, Tammy Keeling, Lisa Poole checking in.
Lisa just screamed at me in Spanish.
Yeah.
Stop.
Where to start? Pete Hegseth, because this is getting interesting. There's Sherry Jacobs. She'll probably show up at bingo too.
Sherry Jacobs.
It seems
morning,
that they
Torrin.
got rid of the. I'm wondering if there's anything on 95.9. Maybe the lightning got
Yeah,
something.
the
I don't
signal
know.
may be down.
Yeah.
I'm
But
unaffected.
we can't.
Unaffected.
Yeah.
Keep
That's
going.
beyond our control. We've done everything we can on this
We're on
end.
so many venues right now. You can find us if you want us here. Our website, which would be wadeandcarter.com. You can find us on YouTube. If you ever have a chance to go to YouTube, please like the video. The more
Follow us too.
followers we
Subscribe
have.
to us over there, and
Yeah.
even just do a little thumbs up or even a thumbs down if you.
I
like
don't
the
care. Give
content.
us a
Just
thumbs down.
Get
That's
something
great.
to get the algorithms going. 'Cause
Yeah, that's what we want.
that's what we want.
We want body
more
count.
people to listen and watch and have fun with us every morning.
We are strafing YouTube, and we want body count. Tell me about Pete Hegseth. His latest.
because
we mentioned it yesterday.
it's not a different gaffe. It's the same gaffe 2.0. Because now it's coming out that he had a second signal chat group. And they're saying with folks that they're saying he didn't didn't send any information, nothing classified. But here's the people that were in there. His chief of staff,
Okay.
his deputy chief of staff,
Fair.
a retired Army sergeant major who was one of his advisors,
Okay.
his legal advisor,
All good.
a Navy commander in the Judge Advocate General's Corps,
That's fine.
his brother, who is a senior advisor to him for the Department of Homeland Security.
Well, if his brother is on the payroll of the government, I don't mean, is that Hegseth speak? Well, he advises me.
Yeah, this is NBC News is reporting
Okay,
this.
so if he's an advisor to,
and here's where the problem comes in. His wife, Jennifer.
She had no business being on the call that I can think of. And we talked about this yesterday.
Well, it's kind of like the BS when Joe Biden, I don't talk to Hunter about anything. His wife probably shouldn't have been on that chat, but you can't tell me he doesn't go home at night and go, no, we put it on the Houthis today.
Yeah, but the idea would be, technically, you endanger her. She no longer has plausible deniability. Somebody grabs her at the local HEB and throws her in the back of a van.
She's shopping at Whole Foods.
And they torture her to find out what she knows about upcoming military events. I mean, there's a reason that you have encrypted private meetings. Only the people that need to be there should be there. And what troubles me more about this, I couldn't care less. If he tells the Houthis he's going to bomb them next Tuesday, the Houthis can't do a dang thing about it. But you're once bitten, whether it was fair or not, whether or not you deserve to be called on the carpet over the original gaffe that involved the editor of The Atlantic, whether that was your fault or not, you've heard it said before.
Editor-in-chief,
whatever.
Fact checking.
I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm saying we're going to blame you.
Yeah.
He got blamed. Later on, it came out, whether it was true or not. He and Trump know that another guy had inadvertently clicked on a link and that's how the guy got included. And
same initials as somebody else that was supposed to be on
that's all fine and
whatever.
Good. And I thought it was a nothing burger at the time it was first reported.
And apparently they went after the guys that leaked that to the media. Not the guy that, I don't think they got rid of the guy that added him to the chat mistakenly.
Right.
But the fact that this became a news story.
But once that happens, wouldn't you look at your wife and go,
thank you, Jordan Glass, for
we'll
following
talk about it
today.
We'll talk about it when I get home.
Yeah.
Why do you feel the need to include your wife or your spouse, your significant other? There's nothing here about her being a female.
Why is your spouse in that chat? Because what are they going to do? Hey, pick up the dry cleaning and a gallon of milk on your way home too.
That's if Dawn was in my high level military chat, she would send me a note. Don't forget the dry cleaning. And people would be like, dun, 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 dun. Is that secret speak?
Ta-da. Speaking of which, I mean,
crazy.
Sherman Hensley, George Jefferson,
yeah,
the pantheon of dry cleaners.
Oh, absolutely.
So I talked to Lilo over at Magic.
Yes, sir.
He says that we're on, but when I went to the website and tried the Magic website, it doesn't work. So
well,
I think we've done everything we can do over here.
Linda Chris shares, and I'll read it verbatim. No classified information passed on. His wife should not have been involved. So slap his hand and let's move on. This has been going on for weeks. It's just another way to tear down the Trump administration. It's not like Biden and his administration didn't do a worse job than what is going on now. I can't.
And here's the other thing. Who's to say that his hand wasn't slapped? Because now we're going back to, again, the very same initial incident with the Houthis, right? This is the same story 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, basically.
They could take away his hair product.
Yeah.
Because he has great hair. He still has fox hair.
Or his signal. But I'm assuming he would have learned his lesson because we haven't we haven't blown the Houthis up for a while either.
And they haven't blown up any of our ships. I don't know if you've noticed this. DJT apparently got their attention. They have not been bothering our ships. Now, do you think that's a coincidence or do you think they just got nice all of a sudden? Yeah.
No.
By the way,
they're
I agree
scared.
with Torrin Bales. Unlike his predecessor, Trump is unafraid to fire someone. If he did something wrong, he'll be fired.
Well, and that's what Hegseth said the other day. We got rid of the whistleblowers or the leakers, not the whistleblowers. And now they're leaking more because make no mistake, the Defense Department was where the major problems were in the first Trump administration. Mattis, think of all the people he went through on his Security Council and Department of Defense, right?
Sure.
He's cleaned house pretty much every other department, but you know what happened when he appointed Pete Hegseth? He pissed a lot of people off in Washington, D.C. who felt, I've earned that, or no, let me rephrase that. I deserve that appointment.
Well, it's not about their feelings anymore in D.C. Johnny Houghton says, why don't they have a work phone that only has work contacts? We had phones that had dedicated networks for only work, and you had a personal phone, it was a pain carrying two phones, but there were no gaffes ever. I can't disagree.
Yeah. And you know what? Knowing Pete Hegseth, and probably when he worked at Fox, he probably had two phones.
Right.
He had a phone that his contacts and people that he wanted to work to get involved in a story or interview would reach out to him on. And he had a personal phone where these folks didn't contact him after 8:00 or whatever. No, I agree completely. And I think you and I even suggested that the first time around. So maybe he does now. We don't know. But boy, if he did, you'd think he goes, you know what? We fixed that problem. I now have a separate phone that doesn't include anybody but those who need to know.
And am I right that this is a second revelation from arguably the same initial gaffe?
Yes.
So there you go. Donald Trump yesterday very offhandedly just said, I think he's doing a great job. If you don't believe me, ask the Houthis.
Or is that the Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy seal of approval?
Right. Yeah. There's no way. He's my guy. No way I'd fire him while he's got a search committee trying to find somebody else.
Yeah. But Johnny, you make almost too much sense.
Yeah.
And I know Trump is the president, but sometimes even too much sense is too much for all government.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, let's get our guest in here.
Real quick though, do we want to talk about the red dyes before we take a quick break?
Yeah, I find it interesting
because red dye was the first, right?
Yeah, red dye number 40 or something. The first thing that or red dye number 2, RFK Jr. has said that he wants to move away from all petroleum-based colorings in our food. Now, when you say that, you go, man, what an undertaking. But the reality is 90% of our food is made by 5 companies. I mean, that,
and the other reality
Kraft
is
or
Nabisco.
Yeah, that's it. There's only about
Nestle.
5. There's 5. And they make all your generics and they make everything else. I don't understand why. The idea of would a rose by any other name still not smell as sweet, or Shakespeare's turn on that. I don't understand why somebody doesn't get out in front of this major brand like Fruit Loops and go same fruit flavor without anything for moms to worry about.
They've done it in other countries.
Why
Canada,
not just have
most of
they
Europe.
do it with your laundry detergent. Remember, no added aroma, no added dyes or colors. It's just soap. Why not just have Fruit Loops? And if they're all the color of Cheerios, isn't it the flavor you're after anyway? I don't get it. Why isn't somebody out there embracing
But
this?
it's not. They're not all. I mean, every other country's managed to have no problems doing this. And guess what? Their Fruit Loops are made by Kellogg's, the same as our Fruit
And they
Loops.
just don't add, the intense. No. And now here's something that was said. Be ready for the middle aisles of your grocery store to look different. When you go down and it's grape Gatorade and it's fruit punch Gatorade, and they're both basically clear, you've got to kind of trust them. But if you think about it, isn't it kind of weird that we add color to food? It is
Somewhat.
odd. I mean, I get it. It's
otherwise, everything would look like water and I don't know.
And
gruel.
you know what? It would look like the processed garbage that it is.
Well, the other interesting thing, the Native Americans, the indigenous people, figured out ways to get colors out of all sorts of things that were in nature.
True. Of course, that would be expensive. I don't understand
Would it
why
in this
you
day and
need.
age with the technology we have? You can just chat GPT it. AI would figure out a way to do it for you. Here's how you do it.
They ought to do is give you like some goggles, and when you put them on, the Fruit Loops look a different color.
Go get a smoothie from Paravita Wellness, and if it's green, it's green.
It's got kale in it.
Yeah, there's no artificial colors in that thing, and nobody has a problem with that.
Absolutely.
It sure looks green to me.
There you go. Junior babbling in tongues.
Scott Tomko says jelly beans will never be the same.
Junior says he personally rescued the magic signal.
Micah Patton, Crystal Pepsi was way before its time.
Think about it. I mean, and
yeah. Quick break, and then we'll bring Mickey in.
Now, Peter McNally, very interesting because he's taking a conservative position. He says the government controls too many products now. Cereal color. There are a lot of people that say that this is not American, that the government shouldn't tell people what they can and can't put in the foods. However,
always the contrarian, Peter.
Yeah, but it's interesting because he's a huge liberal, and yet he's saying something that is actually very conservative, and I can't disagree. I think that if studies have shown, it makes sense to not add color. But a parent should have a choice, and a parent should have full disclosure.
It seems there's enough studies for the rest of the world to ban these things, except for this country, which tells me that there's too much money involved.
We're America. We're America. We don't follow suit. Folks, we've talked to you about Palace Bingo. We've talked to you about Paravita Wellness. Get to Atzenhofer. We talked to you about Veracruz. Get to Atzenhofer today. I recommend Atzenhofer.com. Good morning, John Anderson.
Yeah, you got a car and maybe your windows leak a little bit because the seals are old because it's 15 years old. Time for a new ride. Right. Atzenhofer can hook you up.
Absolutely.
First State Bank of Louise Astros update.
Astros win. Astros win. Astros win.
They're looking good right now.
They're playing really well. The pitching's been stellar. Ronel Blanco gave you 7 innings last night. The night before, Hunter Brown gave you 7 innings, gave up 2 hits, and pitched a shutout.
5-1, the Astros win, and they're a game over 500 since the first time this year, maybe.
Absolutely, they're actually grooving pretty good right now. I think
so too.
And make no mistake, your Hunter Brown is among the elite pitchers right now.
He's my way too early Cy Young favorite.
No doubt. He's got 24 consecutive innings without giving up a run.
And an ERA of like 1.16 or something.
And the numbers were staggering. First time through the lineup, teams were hitting like 296. Second time, like 184. The third time, they were hitting 0. Yeah. So, which is usually, it's just the opposite. Usually teams don't hit you good the first time they go through the lineup. The second time they're used to seeing your stuff, and make no mistake, they've got different stuff on different nights.
His two-seam sinker is what he's crediting.
He's killing
his ground ball percentage is like almost 60%. I think it's tops in the majors.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
He's inducing a lot of ground balls.
Stephanie Conley says, my roof's leaking. Do you have an advertisement for that? Yes, I do. Get rid of that carpet that's wet and call the Dollar Floor Store. Let them come out and put down tile, laminate, vinyl flooring, waterproof, outdoor flooring, you name it, they can meet your needs. Went Services for all your electrical needs. Let Went help you when that floor fills up with water and that plug gets ruined. Let Went come out and change that.
Yeah, don't stand in the water and unplug stuff.
Right. Yeah, don't do it. Just don't do it. Yeah. Christy Thurman throws in the kink in the hose. The diabetic industry is a $10 billion industry. Think about that.
And these dyes have been linked to the autism that RFK Jr. speaks about in some studies, and the medication for that is probably off the charts.
Cancer and diabetes are huge revenue streams for this country. Don't kid yourself. If you had the definitive cure for cancer tomorrow, it would not be like Jonas. Is it Jonas Salk that gave away the vaccine? That wouldn't happen.
For polio, was it?
That wouldn't happen. Yeah.
Was he polio or no? Who was insulin?
No,
insulin was a Canadian guy.
Yeah.
Sure. Salk was polio.
You got to bring in some way to compliment Canada. Okay.
Toronto, 1921. Frederick Banting, Charles Best.
There you go. Banting and Best. I should have known that.
Banting and Best.
Yeah. Now it rings a bell. I'm I'm not convinced we haven't cured cancer somewhere. It just was not allowed to get.
That's right.
It wasn't unlike Hegseth's chats. It wasn't allowed to be leaked out of the Wuhan lab.
Look at that. Wendy Hughes Garcia just comes in emphatic.
Yep.
Insulin was Charles' best. Mickey, you got time? I think he went to sleep.
He's playing with the dog.
No, he's coming in. We're gonna give him a cut.
We thought maybe we put you to sleep with this riveting content this morning.
Well, we do want to spend a few minutes.
Stephanie says she needs a new couch too because hers got all wet from the leak.
You're
So
gonna
there
have
you
to
go. She can
stand
go
so
by
close to
Chestnut.
that. You can feel free to use that, but you're gonna have to stand so close to it that come on, you know the drill. You're a veteran. You're a radio.
You've been
veteran.
here once. You're good.
Like he's getting up there like
Yeah.
he's gonna sing us a song. You know, he's on his little perch.
Guitar's coming.
We'll give him a microphone. We're gonna look. You see this? Like I'm uncomfortably close to it. It's
You
what
got to
has
get
to-
right there.
It's a
Yeah.
direction.
Moving around, nobody will hear you.
Yeah, you can move
We're
it
good.
wherever you want. Nobody
Nobody hear the mic moving. We want everybody to hear you.
Yeah,
There,
it's
perfect.
fine.
Yep, we got
Yeah,
you.
you may want to scoot one click closer. Just, am I right, Ash?
Yeah,
I'm just being
a little
fair.
bit,
I want people to hear
yeah,
his
yeah.
message,
No,
and
me
it
too.
helps you. It helps you block out Bob Ross. Actually,
but not G.I. Joe.
Bob Ross's hair is now on top of your head.
I don't want no,
Not
this
really.
is my look. I don't need that fro on top of my head.
Very frugal, saving money on hair products. We're joined by Mickey Kostella. He is running for school board.
BISD, trustee,
BISD.
District 7.
Good. Yes,
Yes,
we
sir.
had Sheila Coyazzo on yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Had a nice visit with her. She seems intense and
Focused.
focused and ready to
definitely.
go.
I've had the pleasure of hearing her speak several times. We had a one-on-one meeting last week. I'm genuinely excited for what she's bringing.
Tell us about what I'm always intrigued by. You came into this race with your eyes wide open. You knew why you were running. You've talked about that in the past. You're welcome to revisit. But what have you noticed since you've been visiting with folks on the street and walking door to door? Tell me what you're hearing and what their concerns are.
One thing I hear a lot of is I think people are waking up to realize, and BISD struggled in the past. Our ratings aren't good. I've seen the ratings. I've seen financial reports. Like you said, I've talked to
Super yesterday said the D rating
a
coming
D,
out next
a
week.
68, yes.
Yeah.
And it's been that bad for a while. The changes are in place. We brought in the new superintendent. She is doing exactly what they hired her to do.
And she
Awesome.
came here knowing that this district wasn't.
Yes, she knew it. She knew
Yeah.
it from the beginning. She
And-
knew it in the negotiations.
And they can't blame it on COVID either. It's been
No,
in
that's too long
decline
ago.
for years.
right.
No, it was in
happened
decline before that.
Before COVID,
Yes.
COVID just was the nail on top of the head. It
Right.
was just, that's what put it down. It is changing. You can see it changing already. I think the community feels it. Things are in the air. Our port's trying to grow. I got to listen to Sean with the Port Authority earlier this week. Potentially $8 billion worth of growth of investment on our port. Hundreds of high-paying jobs coming in. If the city grows, our schools need to grow with it. We need to be in great shape so these big corporations come in and see, hey, they got a great school. Let's move our people in. The more people we have here, the better off everybody is.
No doubt. We got to
No
grow our
doubt.
tax base. Something we
Right.
have to do. We haven't done it here for a long time.
But if
Right,
we don't
right.
get the schools right, and we've heard this in the past, the corporations won't come.
Right, they won't come. Caterpillar was the last big one that came in, and that helped tremendously. It helped our economy. Now it's time for something new, and I think the port is a great place to start. There's a lot of room for growth. Our schools are going to grow. We are headed in the right direction. I think we have a very bright future, and I want to be a part of it. I want to be a part of this growth. That's one reason why I wanted to get in this race,
That's awesome.
because I think there's a lot of good stuff coming down the line for Victoria.
What are you? Early voting started yesterday, didn't
Started
it?
yesterday.
Okay.
Yes,
Tell
sir.
folks when they can vote.
Patty Dotson Center with a D. Early voting is on. It goes on till April 29th, and then election day is on May 3rd.
Which, by the way, April 29th is next Wednesday. Is that right,
Right.
Ash?
Is it Tuesday?
Monday,
Tuesday.
next month, next Tuesday. Yeah,
Next Tuesday. So you've got this week to vote.
forgot
That's
today's
it.
Wednesday.
And then
And
Monday,
then you've got to
Tuesday,
vote.
and then show up on May 3rd is election day.
Saturday.
Yes,
You know what's
sir.
interesting with and this is an aside, but it's interesting that the elections that impact us more than anything
Mhm.
are these types of elections,
Right.
and turnout
And nobody
is dismal.
nobody shows up.
We're happy if we
said
get 10% of people.
Yeah. I've said this a few times. In last year's presidential election, in just District 7, just my voting block, 22,200 people voted. In the 2022 school board election for District 7, 1,912 people voted.
People, if you think your vote
8%,
doesn't matter, your vote
8%,
matters.
It matters more than anybody
Yep.
thinks it does, especially in local elections.
Are people telling you they're not going to vote? Have you heard that?
I haven't heard that.
Okay.
One of the main reasons I wanted to come on here was to get people fired up, get the teachers ready. I mean, go vote. This is our chance. There's things happening in Victoria. We can either go up or we're going to stay flat. And I mean, our future is bright, but we need people to show up, make their voices heard. This is your chance.
100%. I also, and Ash and I have made the comment, we don't ever endorse candidates on the program. And we've been impressed with everybody running in your race.
Right. And
all good guys, and
They are.
I'm proud of y'all for the types of races you're running. I haven't
The
heard
quality of candidates.
no
Well,
negative word from
and
anybody.
a quantity for once too. I mean, we actually have a choice, which
Yeah,
I mean, hasn't really
look
happened
Look
for a
at this
while.
ballot we have right now. There are 6 local elections on 6 races.
Yeah,
Mayor, 2 city council seats, and 3 school board seats. 3 of those races are unopposed. 2 city council seats unopposed, elected. Didn't have to say a word, didn't have to answer a question, debate anybody, elected.
That's craziness.
And then the school board seat, Kathy Bell was unopposed, reelected.
yeah.
I'd rather have that than have like an Ilhan Omar sneak in here. And that's what happens. That's how
could,
you lose your
absolutely.
foothold.
It is.
Is the next thing you know, you're in a
Boom,
school board
something's on
meeting
you.
and somebody wants Sharia law
Right.
in
Something
your
could
school
happen.
board.
No, people need to show up. People need to get involved. This is our local elections. They have a direct and immediate impact on all our lives. I mean, tax rates, the way our city grows.
Rena Shear says, what's the voting boundary for this district? Are you out Salem Road towards the airport?
Yes. So District 7 is the outer skirts of Victoria.
Okay.
So the other race is District 6. That's like downtown St. Joe area. But District 7 is everybody else. It goes all the way out to Mission Valley.
Is that what they
Kelpner.
call a super district?
It is Super
It is.
District
Okay.
7. And then there's Super District 6.
You just didn't want no average district. You wanted a
We're
super
gonna
district.
we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it right. We're gonna go big.
Amen.
Yeah.
Awesome. How's your family?
Doing good.
I mean, how are they holding up with all the? I know it's in
With the election and
just chasing
It's
people
just-
around and shaking hands.
it's
and-
just busy. My middle daughter's about to graduate from West. She got accepted into the Texas A&M's Gateway program, so we're getting
Good for
ready
her.
for summer school.
Good for her.
My oldest daughter, who's actually running my campaign manager, she just got accepted to A&M's Mays School of Business for a master's.
Fantastic.
Mhm. My youngest daughter is a junior at St. Joe. They've come, it's the end of the year, so everybody's busy. Everybody's got their own things going on. They've tried to make it to as many of my events as they can. But it's my same with my wife. She tries to. She gets real nervous though. It's
Probably
kinda-
tired of seeing you
Hey.
right now.
Nah, no, I know she's probably watching it right now.
And
actually.
just an aside, we're just having a conversation with Mickey Kostella. It's just something that just came to my mind. School really, it just started. It just started, and now we're at the end of the year.
It's over.
It's over. I mean,
over.
Rylan, my 12-year-old, is at Cade,
Mhm.
and I said, "Do you have any homework?" And just being a 12-year-old boy that communicates well with me, he just said, "Dad, it's pretty much over."
Yeah.
They're pretty much winding it down.
Yeah.
Could you see a situation where Victoria maybe went to, for lack of the exact phrase, year-round school?
Yeah, I know. I've never even considered year-round school. I think they talked about it when I was in school a long time ago. I don't know if it would benefit anybody or not.
Right. I just wondered because you're
Break it
right.
up,
We're here at the end of the year,
Mhm.
and it's April,
It's April, yeah.
and they're done.
Yeah, we're getting ready I'm getting emails for graduation and then
Sure.
West is on May 31st. East is on the 30th. And I know life's moving fast.
No, it does.
And Victoria is growing with it just as fast. I wanted to come on today to get people involved. Everybody needs to show up and make your voices heard.
You've been consistent with that since our first conversation.
That's why I did it.
You said, I want to get people involved.
Yes, sir.
And my personal experience has been you're more than willing to take any type of question. You're, I find you to be very thoughtful.
If I don't know the answer, I'll tell you I don't know the answer.
Right. That's awesome.
And I'll look it up later if I can. There's a lot of this stuff. I've never been on the school board. There's some things I just don't know. I'm not going to know.
Right. Until you get in there and dig into it.
Yeah. And
yeah.
But hopefully we can get in there. May 3rd's coming fast.
I haven't seen you since I saw you and Beth at that infamous.
You made it infamous.
It was a very quaint little brunch for about 100 people. Somehow I wasn't invited to.
You almost ran me over.
I was trying. I was swerving to make a statement. I thought
you weren't. It wasn't my house.
If it wasn't for your lovely bride, I would have given you a little noogie with the front end of the Bronco.
Well,
yeah.
No.
I just threw that in for John Paul Hull. John Paul told me the other day. He's told me so many things. But he told me the other day, "Don't worry, you'll be invited to the next one, or the one after that."
Maybe,
and then he said, "You know that you're welcome just to walk into my home at any time."
I mean,
really?
It was an outdoor party. You could have just pulled up and at least said hello. It was kind of rude that you didn't stop and say hello.
Right. They had, but you've got the wrought iron fence. They had the security detail.
Well, yeah, the guy pointed.
He's moving, right?
JP's
he's moving.
Just so he can relocate his
That's
brunch.
right. Well, come on in at any time, but we won't be there.
Right. Yeah. I go in and somebody shoots me for being in the wrong
Well, that was
house.
the thing. The guy pointed his AR at you. I mean, you could have stopped, but you might have been stopped.
The badgering has been endless. I got a call from Torrin Bells and said, "Oh, I saw so and so. Oh, that's right. I saw him at John Paul's brunch
that you weren't at.
That I wasn't invited to." Unbelievable.
Maybe the next one I'll
see if I could be like your plus one.
Maybe.
Okay.
If my wife can't go or something, maybe,
right, I'll go with you.
I'll shoot you a text.
Okay, just keep me in mind. I've got that status with about half a dozen people,
and they never call.
And then nobody's called yet.
Nobody's invited you. Yeah, so I'll see what I can do.
Anything else you want to share about the school board? Thoughts or what you've heard on the street?
One thing that I found surprising. There are 29 schools in VISD. Out of those 29, 6 of them were built in the 1950s. 4 of them in the 60s, and one of our schools still in use today was built in 1938. Patty Welder was built in 1938.
And Brother Gary was there.
My dad went there. My dad graduated from VHS in 1964. My whole family went to VHS. It's still the exact same. Somebody said they still had the green tile that they had.
Yes.
And
it's tragic. It was depressing.
It was. And it's even more depressing.
Well, you were there to learn, not to live.
Yeah.
But I felt like I lived there.
It's still, that's why the community needs to get involved. Nobody knows this stuff. I had no clue. I still don't know when the Memorial Stadium was built.
67, I think.
67.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's time for some updates, some upgrades. If we're going to attract these large corporations and have them move here, we have to be able to present them something nice. And
I played ball for Mike Smith before the UIL was quite as prevalent. And I felt like I did live there from about October, whatever that was.
You played ball for Mike Smith before the UIL existed.
Oh,
come on,
man! It was like, okay, we're going to practice at 6:30.
Yeah,
and then we'll practice, of course, 6th period.
Yes,
and you should be home by 7.
Maybe.
Yeah, it was just unbelievable.
No, that main message is please go vote. Early voting is now all this week. You've got Monday, Tuesday next week, and Election Day is May 3rd. Show up. There's the Proposition A, to expand our community center. It won't raise taxes on any of us. It's hotel stays and rental cars. I mean, this election is about our future. It's very important. We need as many people to show up as we possibly can get.
Yeah, a lot of folks have been amped up just saying no new taxes of any type. I am for the increase to the hotel tax. I've looked around. We travel a lot.
Right.
The tax is not prohibitive. And let's be fair. At this point, the people that are coming here, they're typically coming here for business. It's
work.
not like they're here for a huge tourism
vacation
effect.
or
Not
something,
yet,
right.
not yet. And it makes sense to go ahead.
If you look,
and make
if you
a
look
buck.
at the hotels, they're usually full. The parking lot's full. There's a lot of people here staying here.
Yeah.
And if we get these big corporations into our port, it'll be even more. And that helps all of us out. Show up, people, go vote.
Absolutely.
Mickey, thank you.
We
Not
really
just for
appreciate
stopping by
it.
today, but thank you for getting involved and throwing your name
Yes, sir.
in the hat, because it takes people who want to make a difference to make a difference. And
Yes, sir.
I applaud
Thank
you.
you
I
very
applaud
much.
you for that.
Funky Trey Molina says, "I'd vote for you if I could."
It doesn't quite get down to Corpus Super
Thank
District
you.
7,
I don't know
Funky. It's
if
close.
Super
It doesn't
District-
quite get there.
If it doesn't reach Corpus, or if he's saying that because he's a multi-time convicted felon. Mickey, thanks so much for coming by. We appreciate. When you walk out, would you tell our esteemed other guest to make his way this direction?
I will.
Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you,
So
Mickey.
that was our
Appreciate it.
visit with Mickey Kostella. He's running for school board. He encourages you to vote between now and next Tuesday in the early voting, and then again on May 3rd. I guess you can vote again, right? If you vote on it.
Well, if you're a Democrat, you
It's
might
a
be able to
bonus
vote
vote.
all week long, every day.
Folks, get by Cheswick Furniture. Cheswick and Love make your house a home. If you'll get in today, Bobby Leon had a birthday.
He did have a birthday
and
yesterday.
and he's still ageless, the
Yeah.
ageless wonder.
Hasn't changed.
Bobby Leon will show you why you just always do better at Cheswick. White Trash Services, White Trash Site Services. Let White Trash come out and be your trash collection organization.
Extraordinaire.
They do a great job. They are the preferred multi-county trash collection group. The Chopping Block. I don't know what's going on at Chopping Block today. Do you? They got plate lunch.
They've got the same. Yeah, they've got the same specials going on. $14.99 ribeyes, and get by the Chopping Block today for all your fresh meat needs. They are basically an old time butcher shop. You see something there, and you want to say they got an inch steak, you like them cut half inch. They'll cut it right there for you.
They'll do it for
Yep.
you.
Awesome. So there you go. Talked about Parvita. Did we get USA Concrete Coatings in today? Did we talk about them? With the Astros going as good as they are, USA Concrete Coatings could put an Astros logo on that drab slab of yours. Pool season's just around the corner. Have them come out, take a look at what they can do for your pool deck, your patio, your garage floor, craft room. USA Concrete Coatings, 578 Home. Charlie Garcia and the gang and his brothers can come out, get it all done for you. Had no idea Colton Mallory's birthday today. Happy birthday, Colton. We don't do that on this show, but for you.
If we did, we would say it's Colton's birthday.
We would.
So we're joined now. Hey, looky there. There he is. Our Congressman Michael Cloud. Sir, welcome in.
Good morning. Buenos dias.
Oh, very nice.
Hey.
Ooh, multilingual.
Well, that means Wade and Carter's great in Spanish. For those of us that don't comprehend.
For those of you listening
Yeah,
on
yeah,
Magic
yeah.
that didn't
That's
quite catch
right.
that.
Exactly.
How are you, sir?
Good.
Welcome back
Good.
to
How's
your
it going?
district.
Well, thank you.
We're doing good.
I think those things will work.
I think they're working. He's got a little
Nothing.
tablet open over here,
Uh-oh.
and I just asked him.
That's
if
your
he-
arrest warrant.
I asked him if he had Pete Hegseth looped in. He said he can't say. So
he's not the leaker.
he's not the leader. That's big news. It's probably a nothing burger in D.C., but it's big news right now that Pete's wife was involved in a supposedly secure chat. Well, it was
Yeah.
secure, but so I always wonder who ratted him out. Like who, if it was secure, it's not like she went on Oprah and talked about it. Just interesting. You don't have to.
Yeah, I don't know the details of that yet.
You
I've
don't
seen
loop
headlines
us
of
in
that.
on your high level meetings. I mean, it just seems
It'd be
odd.
nice.
It would be nice.
I've called our congressman to complain about that, but it's done me no good.
Right. Absolutely. Tell us what's going on. Welcome home, by the way.
Well,
And I
thank
know
you.
you're going right back.
Well, yeah, we're here for this week. We got meetings throughout the day with constituents. Tomorrow we'll be on the road a bit for the next couple of days, and then Monday we'll be headed back to DC. So
I haven't seen you like really rankle anybody in a while. I don't know if y'all are kind of in a mode right now. There was a period of time in there where people were like,
well, the big thing we were working on right before we left DC was getting the next step in the reconciliation process
I
done.
was
And
just
so
going to bring that up.
there was plenty of rankling, but most of it was between other members.
Because the vote was close, like 216 to
it was
214,
close,
yeah.
and we needed to get some, because right now, the reconciliation is a humongous opportunity that we have. We only need 50 votes in the Senate. It's the right opportunity to correct course on our fiscal spending, and we have to do that. And I always try to just to put the conversation in perspective, remind people that the strength of our dollar is really, really important to every other discussion we want to have in the political sphere in the United States. And it is very likely, unless we signal a course correction, because our debt's getting out of hand, that we could easily go to a bond market auction and it fail. In which case the dollar begins to collapse and leads to a domino effect of some pretty bad things. In which case, again, all these other discussions what we want to have on the right mix between defense and whatever, and
Right.
are kind of irrelevant at that point. So we have to signal a course correction. It is the right thing to do, irregardless of the fact that we're up against that threat.
Yeah. What I like is you actually passed or committed to like $1.5 trillion in spending cuts.
Yes, and this is what the rankling was over, because right now everybody knows, okay, tax cuts expire. These are the ones that hit families hard this year, and so there is a definite need to get the tax cuts done. But the swamp is going to swamp, and what they're going to try to do is to try to make it all about the tax cuts without paying for them and without having
And
spending
that was the
reforms.
problem in 17.
Right, exactly. And so they'll do it through a bunch of different ways, whether it's fuzzy DC math. We see this all the time. They'll have growth projections that are unreal. We're going to have 4% growth for 10 years. We may have a couple of years of that with what we expect President Trump to do, but the fact that that's going to sustain itself for 10 years in a way to pay for things and it's just not realistic. And so on top of that, we're learning a lot from DOGE that needs to be incorporated either into the reconciliation package or to the approps package that resets the spending baselines. And so
is that the next step with DOGE? Because that's what everybody's saying. Well, they found all this money, but what's going on?
Well, yeah, some of it is they're canceling contracts every single day. Their goal was to find $4 billion a day over, I think, 120 days of waste, fraud, abuse,
that's
or mismanagement.
crazy that is a goal, because that's a minimum of how much waste is a day. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And I've mentioned this before, but we sit on the oversight committee, and there's, once a year we'd have this hearing of the waste, fraud, and abuse, and the GAO would come before us and talk about the waste, fraud, and abuse. And I've always thought that should be like the agenda, right? For the rest of the year.
That penny plan you talked about a few years ago.
Yeah.
Boy, the left probably wishes they would have agreed to that plan, didn't they?
Yeah.
But the media or the record shows that even their beloved President Obama was a fan of this logic, this DOGE logic, this review and remove and correct logic. He just didn't have the technological support, the AI, if you will, to make it happen.
Well, I don't think he wanted to make it happen. I think he was just paying lip service to something to try to get elected, to be honest.
Maybe but I mean, once again, whether it's moving an embassy to Jerusalem or saving money on that embassy, or what, Trump is actually walking the walk.
Right. Many presidents have talked about finding this sort of savings. And to your point, the video circulated of President Obama, we need to find every dollar. Some of it's going to be big dollars, some of it's going to be small dollars. But when it's taxpayer money, we need to go after everything. And the person I'm going to put in charge to make sure this happens is
Joe.
Vice President Biden. Joe, he
was too busy over in Ukraine.
But when my buddy who owns Solyndra walks away with $500 million in loan guarantees, we're not going to go look at that.
So, but the point is that, this really should be a bipartisan effort. But I think the reason it isn't is because what we found out is that these taxpayer dollars are basically going through this massive shell organization through these NGOs and grant writing to really support the leftist movement here at home and around the world. And so, a number of these NGOs have been stood up, and taxpayer dollars are going to them, and they're fronts for just leftist, Marxist stuff. And to the point that we found out basically that taxpayer dollars were standing up and going to a number of these media organizations, to where in DC, like the moment they stopped those funds, literally like reporters I would see in the hallway are no longer there.
Right. Because
You know?
the government was paying for them to be there.
Or they're moving to another organization, or you know.
I saw
They're all moving to NPR.
one video I
Right.
saw in particular was it was a report. It was like a huge assemblage of pages, and it was Obama talking about that for forever this report would get dropped off at a member's office. And he said, we've just decided to, it was something like a couple of million pages for everybody involved.
Mhm.
And he said, we just decided to put that online. It's now available online. If they
Right.
need a hard copy, we can get them one, but we're going to, I mean, it was because
Yeah.
some of the expenses are going to be small. Relatively speaking, this is a small expense, but it's
It's the reports that, you know, every week when we're up there, there's major pieces of legislation that you'll hear in the news, and then they pass what's called suspension on a suspension calendar. These are supposed to be, you know, non-controversial things, but a lot of times there are these reports which seem, and in and of themselves, they're almost insignificant, except you tack on 1,000 of them, and suddenly, you know, and it's, you know, if you're a new member and you want to get a bill passed, do a report. Who's going to propose a report? You know, so
Right.
you just add a report, you get it in. Hey, I passed a bill, and you know, and so we just add this on. But if you're going to have a report, you have to hire somebody to maintain that report every year and to deliver to Congress. And of course, how many of these reports get read? I don't know. I've never done a report bill. The only one I thought of doing was to do a report on the reports.
right.
Just to make a point.
And that makes it, and somebody might
Like,
report
how
you
many
for
of these
that.
are actually read, you know, how much do they cost, and the like, and maybe we can get rid of some of them, because
That's actually
you know,
genius.
so but then we'll have to do the report on the report of the reports, you know, so
It
It
is
never
funny.
ends once you start it.
Last week I was in Austin and I attended the legislature, and there were some heated debates and conversations, and gentlemen were writing amendments on the floor to get the amendment read. And it was hilarious to hear the speaker say, we will now hear from the speaker yields to the gentleman to read the amendment to the amendment of the amendment of the amendment. And he said it with a straight face. There were at least 4 amendments in that sentence. And I was like, wait, we're amending the amendment to amend the amendment. And then
Which
there's
was a
an,
friendly amendment
there's an amendment for that.
to the
Right,
hostile amendment. Yeah.
What,
How do you keep a straight face?
I was the guy that they said the gallery will refrain from, I was like going, yeah, tell me what you make in no particular order. You want to talk about tariffs and what you think the reality is going to be, or if you want
Yeah.
to talk about Harvard and the withholding because of DEI funds, whichever one you feel most passionate about, please share.
sure, we can cover both of them.
Yes, sir.
The one with Harvard, I think, is pretty simple. Press secretary said it yesterday. If you want federal funds, follow federal law. you know, and it's pretty simple. I do think there's a case to be made that, you know, if once your endowment gets 50 billion, I don't know how much it is, but
Right.
maybe
you don't need a whole lot more.
I mean,
maybe those dollars, if they're going to go somewhere, should go to somewhere else.
Well, there was some analysis a few
But-
years ago when I think during COVID, when their endowment amounts actually came to light, even though they've already been there, but people
Right,
pointed this out that with their endowment alone, nobody would have to pay for Harvard for like 200 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
are you saving all that money? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Couple of things that were
So-
interesting was Harvard immediately issued a response and said the Trump administration is interrupting funds that study research for children's cancer. You know, I mean, it just tried to make it like Trump is trying to euthanize our youth, and then
Yeah,
which is just absurd. And the American people see through that garbage now. And then the other thing was I heard a Democrat congressman. You may know who it was. I don't. It was a gentleman, dark-headed. I can see him. He made the comment, when we are in power again, this will not be forgotten. And I
Yeah.
thought, isn't it interesting that the party of inclusion, the party of getting along is threatening people? You know, very interesting.
Who was
They're
it?
always
Yeah.
doing what they claim other people are doing.
Exactly. I mean, we saw it for 4 years. We're kind of used to it at this point. It's sad. I thought it would be a pivot point for them to where we kind of work toward common sense again, but
They don't want
that's
common
not-
sense. Common sense is not their
what
game.
we've
Well,
seen
speaking
embraced,
of common sense,
Chaos is their game.
the House passed the SAVE Act.
Yeah.
Has the Senate taken this up yet? I know.
I don't believe they.
Okay.
taken
Are they
it up.
going to?
So I think they will. They should.
They're all
Yeah.
in El Salvador, bro. They're all there trying to get that guy to
Yeah.
come back who was here illegally.
And we passed it last term, but Chuck Schumer wasn't going to bring it up.
No.
But I do think we'll see that move forward for sure. I'm sure the president will remind them. If
I like the latest talking
We don't,
point by
but-
the left on this one. Well, I got married and now my name's different and I'm not going to be able to vote.
Yeah,
it's
just-
discriminating against women.
Yeah,
That's what it
that's
is.
what it is now.
It's grasping for straws.
Yeah.
This is an 80-90% issue with the American people. To check out a library book at our library, you have to have more proof than you do to you can look it up, and it's in the Victoria Advocate Archive somewhere. I wrote an op-ed on it
True.
at one point, but it was called Every Book Matters. So but
that's how our congressman got his start.
That's how he got his start.
many years ago, many years ago. But but tariffs are on everybody's mind right now too, so don't want to miss that. But this is about the president. First of all, it's interesting that the only time tariffs are a bad idea is that when the United States imposes them, because every other country in the world has been imposing them and nobody had any issues with that.
The first law ever passed in Congress was a tariff. Go back and look that up.
Interesting.
First thing ever passed, ever voted upon by Congress was a tariff.
Wow, that's
George
good.
Washington,
I wasn't there,
promoted
but that's
such.
good to know.
Gary Moses told me.
Gary Moses,
He
okay.
was there.
I love the fear mongering by a comment here again. Dollars in big trouble. Worst April in the markets since the Great Depression.
It's
I
ridiculous.
just kind of looked at it. Our dollar is still valued to the euro higher than it's almost ever been in its entire existence of the euro.
yeah.
Yeah.
The Canadian dollar's I think the US dollar is like 72 cents to the Canadian dollar. We may have dropped a little bit in valuation in the last month. We haven't hit anywhere near record lows that we saw under the Obama administration in relation to the euro and other currencies. So, I mean, and again, our stock market's at what, 40,000 and it's a panic.
Yeah.
Come on.
There are some people who, are in a tough position right now. Like if you're planning to retire this month, most people still have a few months and it's, just those stocks are going to rebound and
Yeah.
everything. We're going through a pivot point and of course, correction, one that's very much needed. We're kind of rebuilding the economy on sound principles as opposed to, kind of shot in the arm. And so there's going to be a transition point. The tariffs, most of them are obviously to bring people to the table, to bring the
That's
countries to the table
really
and
the
get
bargaining
back
chips.
get back to what we would consider free trade.
And I think most of the countries, except for Russia, we don't have to worry. That was the other thing that I noticed too. People were going, well, how come Russia's not included in this? Because we're not trading with Russia right now. But they forget that point, or they purposely left it out. But I think of our trading partners, Canada and China are about the only two that haven't reached out or tried to come to the table in some form or fashion, right?
Yeah,
It's
I
crazy.
guess so. Yeah, there are, and working those deals is not an overnight thing. So we'd all like to see those deals happen, and they will.
Back to
So-
the hypocrisy of the left, which is just so apparent if you just even mildly follow the news. Warren Buffett once said, in paraphrase, he said, a lot of Americans don't have the intestinal fortitude or the common sense to own stocks. And if you've got stock, if somebody comes along tomorrow and says, hey, the interest rates are high, we'll give you 20 grand for your house. And you go, no. So why would you sell stock when you feel like it's devalued?
Right.
If Exxon is worth, I don't know, pick a number, $200
The
a
rich
share.
people are like, hey, it's on sale. I mean, that's
Right,
how Warren
that's-
Buffett.
that's exactly
you
right.
know?
But so are
and-
your 401k managers.
And the reason they're rich
Absolutely.
and others aren't is because the rest of us are like, oh no, let's sell off. It's stinking.
Isn't it interesting that during Trump's first administration, all the left talked about regarding the economy as the stock market surged? Donald Trump's just there to line the pockets of his rich friends. So enter the second term. Trump imposes tariffs, hurts those rich business owners. The stock market starts to go down, costing his rich friends a whole bunch of money. And all of a sudden, the left is he's killing the stock market. Now they care
Yeah.
about the stock market.
ExxonMobil, just since you brought it up, $108.30 as of this morning. It's near all-time highs.
Yeah, but the left wants you to believe the sky is falling because without chaos, they can't manipulate.
No.
It's like anything in a business or in your personal life. Anytime you want to go from one level to the next level, you go through a season of pain. You know, if that's working, I mean, that's the reason I'm not big and buff is because
right,
it hurts to go to the gym.
That's my reason too.
You know,
fair. That's fair.
And so we've as a nation, especially when we're course correcting and rewriting the economy again to where it's strong and works for the middle class, it's going to take some work. You're going to go through a season here, and we're going to do it as quickly as possible. President Trump is the right man with the backbone to do it. A lot of people would talk about it, but then they really don't.
Right.
And so I'm thankful he's there. And
by the way, if anybody
Yeah,
ever gives
he's
you
right.
grief about not being big and buff, just remind them you're a runner.
well,
You run.
CNBC
I used to
this-
be
yeah, track
fast
guy.
a long time ago. Now my kids
CNBC
outrun
this
me.
morning.
Yeah.
Stock futures rally after Trump softens his stance on Powell, China tariffs. So, I mean,
Yeah, I think what he did was so many countries were contacting the U.S. that he said, okay, if you're coming to the table, then my objective is being met.
Yeah.
I'll give you a 90-day stay and we'll visit about this. I think there's just
Have
too
time to
many
negotiate the deal. Yeah,
Absolutely.
The point is to bring him to the table. It's not trying to be punitive. And even when he did put the tariffs on, most of them didn't match, even though we call them reciprocal.
They were only half of what they were on
half of what
us.
they're doing for a lot of them. Right, exactly. And so, you know, I was over at the White House the day the deadline was coming in, and they were already at that point, 30, 60 countries reaching out. Yeah.
Were you just hanging out at the White House? Or
Well, we were working on the bill that
see how
ended up-
casual, Christy? You see how casual? I was over at the White
No,
House.
but it was. I mean, it's you have to understand. President Trump is he's a comical. I mean, he's very serious about the work, but he's got a sense of humor as well. And so when we're over there, every time the phone rings, he's looking to see, what world leader it might be calling, to negotiate.
Did you
Imagine
show
the
them your
day-
coin to get in? Do you have it on you at the moment?
I do not. It's actually over at the office. So
Jonathan Williams with a funny point. The market was due for a correction. And this is the point. This isn't the funny point, but this is the point that's very observant. It happens every 4 years or so. And yes, it does. You can look through it, but then he says, hey, can someone send me a message on Signal when it's time to buy? Yeah, absolutely. What did you make of Bill Maher's comments? Have you looked at his little 12-minute editorial that the left became unhinged on because he actually said, you know what?
was honest about it.
I wanted to hate him, but I couldn't.
Right.
I'm still not a fan of his policies. And that's where he got to.
Yeah.
It's not no longer about hating the guy just because
Right.
he hates the guy. He may disagree with the policies, and that's fine.
And that's where we've been for most of our history in the United States.
Yeah.
Until this like extreme Marxist movement got in a place to where it's like, if I disagree with you, you're evil,
Right.
And to realize like, okay, first of all, he's not Hitler. Second of all,
Yeah, that's such a terrible analogy.
Yeah, he really does. He really does love the country. He's thinking through this. He's smart. He's active. The one thing, and I can say just dealing with the Biden administration, yes, I disagreed with the policies, but so much of it as we worked through casework and just dealing with all these district issues, the ones that don't even make the news, it was just the professionalism that you're dealing with the administration. And yeah, exactly. The lack thereof, returning calls, and you're doing Zoom calls in people's apartments instead of like meeting in offices, and all these just different, and the timelines are real slack, and people are quote working or what I call tele not working, and so you have somebody you never have to wonder if he's engaged. He's engaged. His team's engaged. You may disagree with it, but they're showing up for work.
Well,
every
it's
day.
it's just unrealistic, right? To expect people that work for the government to actually come to their office during the week. And oh, by the way, could you just shoot out a quick email of what you did this week? Because we're trying to justify your position, but if you go, well, really, I'm thinking about what was the movie where the guy just finally tells the two Bobs, I just don't care. Your management
Was
material.
it Trading Places? No. Oh, Office Space. I think,
Office
right?
space.
Yeah,
Is that what it's called?
I think so.
And basically, they call him in to interview him, like, why should we keep you here? He goes, you probably shouldn't. I don't work. I hide out every day. I take 2-hour lunches. The guy goes, man, you're management material. I'm like, yeah, that's like Sleepy Joe. You know, and they're on Trump. But the other day, I read a deal. People were upset because he used real eggs in the on the lawn for the kids for the Easter egg roll. And I'm just like, really? I mean, you know, the left has seized upon the price of eggs, sir. That's the deal. The price of eggs.
I'm more angry at the fact that I didn't come up with this marshmallow dye kit to replace Easter egg coloring and make $1 gazillion this Easter.
Yeah.
I missed that.
That was
What's
genius.
marshmallow?
Walmart couldn't keep them in stock.
Oh, wow.
I like the idea that RFK Jr. is saying, hey, there's, you know, we mentioned there's only about 5 food companies in the world anyway. And why do we have to keep adding color to things that, I mean, close your eyes and eat it. You know, I mean, does a Fruit Loop need to be so abnormally bright red? It doesn't, you know, just eat it.
Well, especially to the point that these companies, by and large, are already produced. It's not like they have to come up with a new formula even to produce it. You know, so the transition period should be. I know you have to retool the factories or whatever. You know, I mean, there's stuff.
So they're already producing them
supply chain
without these colors for other markets.
Yeah, it's not like they have to go back to the lab and figure out how to do this. You know,
that's right.
They're already doing it, just not for Americans.
Wow. Commander Cody over there just held up a sign that said 1 minute. My phone says it's 8:01.
Yeah,
but
so
it's
he's
okay.
He's a little bit late.
He's
That's
2
all right.
minutes late to the 1 minute call. But hey, we get what we pay for, brother.
I didn't want to interrupt him, but
I wouldn't.
But you did anyway.
Both of these men over here are heavily armed, so I would not interrupt him. I
noticed he's now coming with
it's
2 Secret Service agents instead of 1.
We love having Mark Longoria in studio, the chief of staff, who's going back to DC. I'm actually going to tour the White House. I'm going to try to break away and find Hunter's stash at the and then I'm going to hopefully get an opportunity to speak to the president. Mr. President, Mr. Michael Cloud constituent, Michael.
I'm sure once you throw in your ID to the Secret Service guy, you let
They'll
them know
pull me
you're with
aside.
Wade and Carter. They're going to be like,
sure, come on in.
we have a special
Room.
tour for you.
You'll wake up in Guantanamo.
The bowels of the White House.
You've been on our radar.
We're going to give you a ride on Marine One.
Wade and Cody.
Yeah, they just throw me in the back of a chopper and take me off. But how's your family, sir?
Doing well. Thank you very much.
Take a moment and share one last thought with everybody and let them know what's going on. I hope you had a great Easter. You know, just share whatever you want because we are at the top of the hour.
Yeah, well, I just remind everybody to sign up to our newsletter. That's the best way to keep up to date. We'll let you know some of the stuff we've been doing lately. Some of it,
and that's not a solicitation site. That's I mean,
this is not campaign. We call it the weekly report to the boss. It's the 5 things we did last week.
Yes, sir.
So to speak.
And you've been doing it since day one.
That's how I knew about the SAVE Act. And
yes. Yeah. So and then we invite feedback on on that as well as we're here to work for you all. So.
I'll tell you something else. I've always had that interaction with your office and your staff are so friendly and easy to reach. And I was trying, we're coming to DC next week, and I was trying to reach out to a couple of other legislators to try to schedule just a brief visit in their office. It's not that easy with some of the other folks. It's not that I don't feel like they're, inaccessible. They're not.
They've heard about you.
But the fact is, it's not as easy as just contact us here as it is on your site. So thank you for being that easy to reach. And thank you for always spending time with us here. And we wish you continued greatness. I think you're doing a great job, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
There you go. Did you hear that little
Elvis in there?
Thank you very much. I'll get home to Scylla. All right, folks, that's the top of the hour. We were blessed today to be joined by Mickey Kostella. Get out and vote, and also by our Congressman, Michael Cloud. Have a great day. Stay dry.
Bye, folks.
Bye, folks.
I'm kicked out of my near every bar around.